Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect mostly sunny skies today with a high near 58 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County Radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Federal regulators are about to announce what they believe caused a bridge to collapse in Pittsburgh more than 2 years ago, sending vehicles plummeting into a ravine and injuring several people. The National Transportation Safety Board is expected to vote Wednesday on the results of its investigation into the January 2022 collapse of the Forbes Avenue Bridge over Fern Hollow Creek. The bridge's collapse dropped a bus and 4 cars about 100 feet on the day President Joe Biden visited Pittsburgh to promote spending on infrastructure. A new bridge at the site opened to traffic in December 2022. The borough of Baden announced a water service interruption today. Fire hydrant replacement will take place at the corner of Wolf Street and Camilla Street. All of Wolf and Camilla from Bauman to Steele will have their water shut off for the replacement. Water line tie-in will occur at 5th Street. Residents will have service interruption on North Avenue from 4th to 6th Street, including the dead end of 5th Street, and from 6th Street along Collins Avenue to North Avenue. State police in Beaver have released details of a crash that occurred in Independence Township. A motorist identified as 26-year-old Brian Rome was traveling west on State Route 151 when they say he hit standing water and lost control of the vehicle, causing him to strike a utility pole. The vehicle sustained heavy damage, but no injuries were reported. The American Climate Corps, a new program started by the Biden administration, seeks to create 20,000 jobs related to conservation, climate issues, and clean energy. Danielle Smith has the details.
The program, originated by the Biden administration, is still being developed, but organizations in Appalachia believe it could provide many young people in the area with good-paying employment opportunities in these fields. Kaylee Delcado is Director of Strategic Partnerships at Landforce, an employment social enterprise nonprofit organization that combines workforce development with environmental stewardship. She says the organization is unique in its ability to pay wages during all phases of transitional employment, including training people 18 and older.
Over the last 8 years, 52% of our crew members have fallen very neatly within the age range of the American Climate Corps. So given a recent expansion that we're going through, we can now have 2 cohorts. So we will naturally be able to start hiring a second crew in June.
Delcado says their initiative offers job opportunities to marginalized individuals who have traditionally faced barriers to employment, while providing them with the necessary skills and support systems to step into their power and obtain long-term sustainable jobs that support their families.
Did you enjoy the sunset yesterday? The National Weather Service in Pittsburgh reports that it was the region's first sunset after 6 p.m. this year. To make it even better, we're only 19 days away from our first sunset after 7 p.m. due to daylight savings on March 10th. The area won't see another sunset before 6 p.m. until November 3rd of this year. And Congressman Chris Deluzio welcomed Vice President Kamala Harris and Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Michael Regan to Western PA yesterday. Together and alongside other elected leaders, they announced Pennsylvania will receive a $200 million investment from President Biden's Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to improve its water infrastructure and replace dangerous lead pipes in communities. The Pennsylvania announcement is part of a nationwide $5.8 billion investment in stormwater, drinking water, and wastewater investments that will help support essential water infrastructure that protects public health and water bodies across the country. Almost half of the funding will be available as grants or principal forgiveness loans, which help underserved communities across America and Pennsylvania invest in water infrastructure.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
We can expect mostly sunny skies today with a high near 58 degrees. We'll have a chance of rain tonight with increasing clouds going down to a low of 39. Rain likely tomorrow with a high near 49. Chance of rain Friday with clouds and a high near 46. Partly sunny on Saturday. Getting cold again with a high of 34. But it's going to warm up again Sunday with mostly sunny skies and a high near 50 degrees. On this Wednesday, February the 21st of 2023, at 10 after 9, we've got a temperature of 34 degrees with sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh for 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddy Crow.
Pay attention today. It is going to go quickly. It always does when Dale Reckless joins me. Dale Reckless of MRS Physical Therapy. This is being live Facebook fed? Is it feeded or fed? I'm not going to argue about it. It's just after 11 minutes after 9 o'clock. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here. Thank you.
All right. You were kidding about what you said before we came on, right?
What part?
The first question I get from Dale. Hi, Dale. How you doing? Here, get the water and all that stuff. So, want to find out when you're going to die?
Yeah, I have a mortality tester here today. It's gonna be fun.
Good. Good. This is being live Facebook feeded. How much does the mortality test take into account poor decision making for a large part of my life? Does it weigh heavily into it?
Well, this is actually the test that we're going to do. We're going to do a lot of tests today, actually.
And they can watch this.
You can watch this.
Okay.
Mike set us up earlier today in his program.
Yes, he did.
He always challenges me to come in and put you through some things. So,
mess with me.
We can blame Mike for that. But no, we do like to come in and we like to do some demonstrations. So if you do have the availability to watch this on our Facebook live feed, you're going to see a lot of good stuff. If you're driving in the car, that's fine too. We'll do our best to explain what's going on.
You do a great job on the play-by-play of when you're making me do stuff.
I enjoy the color commentary.
You do a very good job of that. But if you can watch it, I know Dale live feeds it on his Facebook page, on the station Facebook page. This is also available for viewing.
Yep, we have this right now being live fed, I'll say, on our MRS Physical Therapy Facebook page, as well as our Cranberry Physical Therapy Facebook page, as well as the radio station. And I like to do it on my personal feed as well, so I try to reach as many people as possible.
So you show as many people as possible your ability to mess with me and me standing there doing it. It's great.
The great thing is this is recorded, so if you are driving the car, you want to go back and see the replay, you can always go back and to the radio station or our Facebook sites, and you can watch the replay. So, for example, if you want to see this mortality device that I'm going to do on Eddy today, you can go back and see what it actually is and what we're doing. But we have a lot of different tests we're going to go through today. So what we're talking about, what I decided to talk about today is exercise in the new year. And, this is a program I often do January-wise, but, we had some special guests through December and January. But, February, I think, is still a really good time to talk about exercise in the new year. And the reason why is because a lot of us have made our New Year's resolutions. Yeah. We make those, in the new year. And, by this time of year, guess what percentage has already failed?
Over half.
Over half. About 80% of people that have made their New Year's resolutions by mid-February have already failed. And we don't want failure. We want success. So what we're going to talk about today is how we can make those New Year's resolutions a success for you. So maybe you had them in mind in January and you've already kind of fallen off the rails. We want to get you back on the rails, and we're going to talk about how we can get you back on the rails and make these things that you made as a resolution successful to you. So, I'm an average guy just like everybody else out there. I made some New Year's resolutions, and I have things I want to accomplish. Mine typically revolves around weight changes. I think that's a pretty common thing for a lot of people. We're going to lose some pounds.
Getting to a certain number.
Yeah. So, over COVID, I stress ate. I stress ate a lot, and it was bad. And I got as heavy as I've ever been in my life, and I realized I needed to make some changes. And I ended up losing about 25 pounds. But, guess what? Over the winter, I gained about 10 of those pounds back. So I'm like, I got to get back on the rails and get back on, what my plan is, for losing those 10 pounds to get where I was. And, I joked with my wife. I said, well, it's hard after the holidays, because that's when I enjoy my holidays.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, well, it's way past the holidays. I'm like, nah, Super Bowl is like really the end of the holidays.
Is that the end of fun eating for America, you think?
But then what happened is like a couple days after the holidays, about a week later, guess what shows up?
Valentine's candy.
And
what else?
Girl Scout cookies. Girl Scout cookies is a big weakness of mine too. So when you think about it, there's always.
No, wait a minute. What's your number one?
Thin Mints,
Thin
absolutely.
Mints? All right.
And then next is Samoas. They're getting pretty close. I really like the Samoas as well. But Girl Scout cookies is a killer for me. But there's really always an excuse to eat poorly, because then we have St. Patty's Day coming up. So really have to stop making excuses for the poor eating patterns. But getting back into the program and what we want to accomplish. So me personally, is weight loss. But other people, have different. Everyone has different goals, what they want to work towards. So that's what we're going to try to talk about today is what some people's different goals are that they have for their new year, whether it's weight loss, exercise, improve their overall health. And so what we're going to do is demonstrate a couple tests that we do at MRS Physical Therapy and Cranberry Physical Therapy to help you get on your program, to help you be consistent with your program. And I think why a lot of people fail is because they've never really, they're not objectively measuring what their goals are, and so they have nothing to compare how they're doing. So, weight loss is an easy one. Most of us have a scale at home. We get on the scale, we get off the scale, we know if we're doing okay or not. But all these other things that we have goals towards, people don't take the time to measure them. But we have the ability to measure anything at MRS Physical Therapy and Cranberry Physical Therapy. So we can measure, range of motion. We can measure strength. We can measure balance. So we want to make your objective goals measurable that we can do for you. We also want to mitigate risks. We want to remove any risk that might be involved so you don't get injured. We want to remove any fear that you might have. A lot of people have fear of movement for their activities because of different reasons. Maybe they have dizziness issues. Maybe they have a neurological diagnosis like Parkinson's. But these, I will say, are really excuses because these are things we can work through and get around or remove as a risk factor so they aren't issues for why you're afraid of exercising and why you're not achieving your goals. And that's really what we're going to talk about today is what we can do to mitigate risks, what we can do to remove fear, how can we objectively measure what you're trying to work towards so that we can see your progress. Because if you just go into an exercise program with just like, well, I want to improve my balance, I want to get stronger, but you've never really created a baseline for yourself, well, how are you going to measure that you're improving or not? And if you don't measure that you're improving, then it's really easy for you to kind of fall off the rails and say, well, I tried and it didn't really work. Well, let's measure this and see if it is working or not. Maybe you need to give it a little more time. What I talk a lot about with my patients is dosage. Maybe your exercise dosage is not appropriate. So just like a medication, your doctor prescribes a medication for you, and he bases the medication, the milligrams that you're to take, beyond, he bases it on science for what we know is the right amount to make you better. So for whatever that might be. So if you take too little medication, it's not going to help you. If you take too much medication, it could hurt you. Exercise is no different. And so we as physical therapists at MRS and Cranberry Physical Therapy, we want to make sure that you're doing the right amount of dosage to make a difference. So if you're just doing an exercise program and going through the motions, it's not going to be enough for you. The dosage is not going to be high enough to make a difference, to make an improvement in your muscle strength, your balance, your sports performance, whatever it might be, is not enough. If it's too much, then it's going to be maybe a deterrent to you because you're going to be too sore, you're going to hurt more. Maybe you had a fall because you're pushing yourself too hard. So we as a physical therapist, we try to find that right exercise dosage for you, which is going to make the difference for you. Not too little, not too much, but finding the right amount. So I talk to my patients a lot about exercise dosage, especially when we're starting a new program with them, whether they have pain or range of motion restrictions or whatever it is. We're going to find the right dosage that's going to make a difference.
So I'm going to get a baseline of my health. I've got goals for this year. This is a very good thing. The term overtrain didn't used to exist. We know that that's possible now, though, don't we? We
do, and we see things happen in sport all the time. If for example, you see people like, you watch the Super Bowl, you watch that guy come off the sidelines and his Achilles just ruptured like that. Well, why did that happen? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm really curious about, was that an overtraining issue? Was that not having the flexibility? These are things that I want to look at in my patients to make sure that they're not overtraining, they're not setting themselves up for failure. Even with high-level athletes that we're working with now in our sports performance program, we want to make sure they have the right amount of range of motion. For example, baseball pitchers, we're going to do some testing on you today. Shoulder strength and range of motion. And I'm going to tell you, based on research, what the risk factors are based on what we see with your range of motion and your strength. So if you're outside of normal limits, I'm going to tell you what your risk factor is for likelihood of injury. So you play a lot of disc golf, I know, right? We've talked about that. Is that the right terminology, disc golf?
Disc golf.
Okay.
Yes, not Frisbee golf. It very much upsets the old.
Yeah, so you essentially are a thrower. Just like a baseball athlete or someone that plays lacrosse, you have throwing needs for range of motion and strength to enable you to do that activity, without injuring yourself. Just like a pickleball player, a tennis player, they all have range of motion and strength needs. So what we're going to show you today is some testing that we do at MRS Physical Therapy and Cranberry Physical Therapy to show if you are likelihood of if you're at risk for injuring your shoulder through as being a thrower. But we can do this for any body part, for any sport that's out there. There's a lot of similarities between maybe a baseball player or a volleyball player or a lacrosse player. There's also differences and similarities between someone that plays soccer. But we're not going to do the same testing for all these sports because they have different requirements. I'm not as interested in how high someone can jump that's a swimmer, for example, right? So we want to really look at their, a swimmer's, range of motion and strength and core strength to make sure that we're mitigating risks for their sport and decreasing the likelihood of injury. And that's really what this is all about. We want you to exercise, whether you're an athlete or whether you're a senior, or wherever you are in your age and what your goals are. We're going to take your goals and we're going to talk to you about what your goals are, and we're going to create testing based on what your goals are so that we can reduce risks and have success in meeting your objective information to have success for what your goals might be.
As a society, are we getting schooled up a little bit better on preventative healthcare? Because that's what we're talking about.
I think so, and the research points to that, and that's why I have all this information. I didn't do this research, right? But scientists have done this research. Sports medicine scientists, physical therapists, doctors, they've done this research to give us values, and these objective values is what I use to test my athletes, to test my seniors, to know what is within normal limits, what is outside of normal limits, what is likely to, if you have limitations in some areas, what is likelihood to have a risk involved if you're limited in some areas. And a lot of this is research that is recent, but it's also a lot of times when scientists do research, they take information over the course of collection of 10 or 15, 20 years of research that's been collectively put together. So it's not necessarily a 20-person sample size that they just did this one study on, but they're pulling collective studies that have been done over the years. They're putting it together to get an outcome and a result that makes sense for why we're looking at these objective measures and making it valid.
At what point in today's program are you going to tell me when I'm going to die?
So, that's up to you. Do you want to do the mortality test first, or do you want to see if you're going to make it through the show or not and do it at the end?
Oh, yeah, that's the old war. If I'm going to die, let me die early. Yeah, let me. We've got about 6-7 minutes till commercials and news. Which one do we have time for now?
So let's do, I hate to call it the mortality test.
No, that's what it is. That's what you said, Dale. Dale goes, you want to know when you're going to die? It's like, is that a question or a statement?
So this has been around for a while. So strength testing, your grip strength related to your mortality has been around for a while.
Really?
But I encourage people to go ahead and Google search this, grip strength and mortality, because really the last couple of years, they've done a lot of research that goes back over collecting information over the past 10 or 15 years, and they've put it together. And if you Google search grip strength and mortality rate, you're going to find research that's been done in the last 1 to 2 years that has collectively put together a lot of research studies that have been done over the last 10 or 15 years. But basically what the research is saying, that seeing a decrease in grip strength is a better indicator of your mortality even more than your cardiovascular ability. So typically we think about our blood pressure and our cardiovascular system being indicators of mortality, which it is. But this grip strength testing has been shown to be even more important and more valid for showing your likelihood of mortality. So what I did is I called it my mortality tester, but really it's just a grip strength tester. And we're going to use this for a couple different tests today. But
have you ever given somebody this test for another reason and got a result and thought, oh, they may not make it out of the office? Should I say anything?
It is an indicator if we do see some decreased grip strength that I want someone to work on their strength. Okay. But this is just a simple gauge, and all you do is just squeeze this gauge, and it gives us a number. We can use either pounds or kilograms. But all the normative data that I brought here today for grip strength averages, they're based on whether you're a man or a woman and what your age is. So we already got Eddy's age today. I asked him off the air in case he wanted to hide his age.
I'm 59.
So Eddy's 59. So we actually have a category for men ages 50 to 59 and normative data for that. So we're looking for normative data for a male to be between 83 and 113 pounds. And we're going to do that on both hands, but it's really your strongest hand that we want to know.
Ooh,
This is the big test today, ladies and gentlemen. Drum roll, please.
I am flashing back to college where it's like, all right, if I get an 83, I pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Are you right or left-handed?
I'm left-handed, but my left shoulder, I'm right-handed
so give me what you
now.
Give me your hand that you think you're going to be the strongest with.
Right.
The one that you're most likely to pass, right? So you're going to keep your arm by your side. So if you're just listening at home.
Do I need to stand up?
Nope, you can do it sitting.
Right.
If you're just listening at home, I have Eddy's elbow by his side with his elbow at 90 degrees.
Can I put it on the arm rest?
Nope,
No,
just right next to your body.
Of course not. It might keep me alive longer.
And so he's going to hold on to that grip strength tester, and I'm just going to ask him to squeeze as hard as he can.
Curtis, pray for an 83, okay?
Okay, and relax.
Okay, do I get to go on to the 7th grade,
drum
Mr.
roll,
Hand?
all the listeners, drum roll. What do you think? Eddy's mortality tester.
I'm going with my academic background. I'm going to say 83 and a half.
You got an 89.
Oh, I'm living forever, baby.
So you're within normal limits. Now, the good thing is, when's your birthday?
March 9th.
Okay, so you're coming up on the 6-0.
Oh, so in a couple of weeks, I get better numbers to shoot for.
Yeah, you look better. So
right
you're
on.
actually, at March 9th, if you tested that, you're at the high end of your range.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
buddy.
At the age of 59, you're at the, the C plus. You passed.
Once I cruise history, Mr. Hand. Can I try again now that I have 2 weeks of a better number to shoot for?
Keep
What
your
did
elbow
I
by your
get?
side.
89?
Yep. Good. Yep, you're good. Okay. And you were much better on that. You were actually 96 on the second test. Yeah, we motivated you. You want to live. You want to live a nice long life. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have Eddy on air for a long time. So you're good to go.
I didn't say, I talk about live, not job. But then that's so strange that you can correlate hand strength.
There's been a lot of research and a lot of correlation to hand strength related to mortality. And it shows indicative even more than your cardiovascular lifestyle.
Well, my cardiovascular is, to quote my doctor, you shouldn't be as healthy as you are.
Yeah.
Like my pulse and all that stuff is way healthier than it should be. So I'm good.
Yeah. So if anyone that's listening and they want to come down and test their grip strength test, we have the grip strength gauges at both clinics, Cranberry Physical Therapy and MRS Physical Therapy. MRS Physical Therapy, we are right in Bridgewater, right in the heart of Bridgewater in Stone Point Landing. And that number is 724-728-7550. And then we have another office in Cranberry that's called Cranberry Physical Therapy. It's on Route 19 right next to North Park Lounge. And that number is 724-591-8121. Any of this testing that we do today that you see, we can do at either of our offices. You don't need a doctor's script to come to do it. You can just come and get the testing. Say you want to work on certain goals, you want to work on your strength, your balance, or whatever it might be. We're going to show you a number of different tests, whether you're a youth athlete or you're a senior athlete or just someone that's trying to improve your overall balance and health. We can do all this testing, give you some objective measures to work on, and give you some guidelines. Really, I think that's the most important thing to be successful with your New Year's resolutions is to have some objective guidelines, something that's measurable for you, that's going to serve your purpose as far as what you're trying to achieve when you're in the new year for yourself.
We had a little bit of a break before we got started, and Dale came in and started putting down pieces of tape. on the floor. So what that means is after commercials and after Curtis does the news, I suspect you're going to have me doing weird stuff.
Yep, that's probably the highest level test we're going to do today. Really, this one's more for your athlete pre-sport testing. It's called a lateral leap and catch. And it's your ability to jump
Is this
from
President's Council on Physical Fitness standing broad jump stuff?
It's kind of like that.
Okay.
But it's something that we use as objective measure to make sure our athletes are healthy to reduce risk of injury for pre-sport testing that we're doing now in both offices.
All right, Dale Reckless will continue messing with me, but I'm living forever, so that's good. After news, more with Dale Reckless of MRS Physical Therapy on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio.
Stop by your local McDonald's today and pick up everyone's favorites, the Shamrock Shake and Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, now available through March 24th. Don't miss out on these fan favorites. Shamrock Shake and Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, now at McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Do you wish that you had the support of a family in your financial institution? You can when you become a family member at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Haladio. During February, the month of showing love and appreciation, Friendly Federal Credit Union wants to show you how true it really is. If you haven't already, apply for membership at Friendly Federal Credit Union with offices in Elliquip and Baden. Enjoy low or no fees with your account, favorable terms and interest rates, and the added benefit of putting money back into your community. What are you waiting for? It's time for a family reunion. Join the thousands of other local people who are already part of the friendliest family in Beaver County. The member owners at the place that makes more sense for you. Friendly Federal Credit Union. Member NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
Friendly Federal Credit Union. You got a friend.
Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM. Along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMVA. And streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect mostly sunny skies today with a high near 58 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Federal regulators are about to announce what they believe caused a bridge to collapse in Pittsburgh more than 2 years ago, sending vehicles plummeting into a ravine and injuring several people. The National Transportation Safety Board is expected to vote Wednesday on the results of its investigation into the January 2022 collapse of the Forbes Avenue Bridge over Fern Hollow Creek. The bridge's collapse dropped a bus and 4 cars about 100 feet on the day President Joe Biden visited Pittsburgh to promote spending on infrastructure. A new bridge at the site opened to traffic in December 2022. The borough of Baden announced a water service interruption today. Fire hydrant replacement will take place at the corner of Wolf Street and Camilla Street. All of Wolf and Camilla from Bauman to Steele will have their water shut off for the replacement. Waterline tie-in will occur at 5th Street. Residents will have service interruption on North Avenue from 4th Street to 6th Street, including the dead end of 5th Street. State police in Beaver have released details of a crash that occurred in Independence Township. A motorist identified as 26-year-old Brian Rome was traveling west on State Route 151 when they say he hit standing water and lost control of the vehicle, causing him to strike a utility pole. The vehicle sustained heavy damage, but no injuries were reported. The American Climate Corps, a new program started by the Biden administration, seeks to create 20,000 jobs related to conservation, climate issues, and clean energy. Danielle Smith has the details.
The program, originated by the Biden administration, is still being developed, but organizations in Appalachia believe it could provide many young people in the area with good paying employment opportunities in these fields. Kaylee Delcado is Director of Strategic Partnerships at Landforce, an employment social enterprise nonprofit organization that combines workforce development with environmental stewardship. She says the organization is unique in its ability to pay wages during all phases of transitional employment, including training people 18 and older.
Over the last 8 years, 52% of our crew members have fallen very neatly within the age range of the American Climate Corps. So given a recent expansion that we're going through, we can now have 2 cohorts. So we will naturally be able to start hiring a second crew in June.
Delgado says their initiative offers job opportunities to marginalized individuals who have traditionally faced barriers to employment, while providing them with the necessary skills and support systems to step into their power and obtain long-term sustainable jobs that support their families.
Did you enjoy the sunset yesterday? The National Weather Service in Pittsburgh reports that it was the region's first sunset after 6 p.m. this year. To make it even better, we're only 19 days away from our first sunset after 7 p.m., and that's because of daylight savings on March 10th. The area won't see another sunset before 6 until November 3rd. A federal appeals court must decide if Pennsylvania voters who put the wrong date on the envelope containing their mail-in ballots should have their votes thrown out. The case, argued Tuesday in Philadelphia, could be significant in this year's presidential contest. The NAACP and several voter groups call the mistakes meaningless and want them counted. They say that more than 10,000 ballots in the state were rejected in 2022 over mistaken dates. Republican groups are challenging a federal court ruling last year that the votes should count if they are received in time.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
We can expect mostly sunny skies today with a high near 58 degrees. There'll be a chance of rain tonight with increasing clouds going down to a low of 39. Rain likely tomorrow with a high near 49. A chance of rain on Friday with mostly cloudy skies and a high near 46. And partly sunny Saturday with a high near 34. Warming up Sunday again with mostly sunny skies and a high near 50 degrees. That's a look at news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh for 99.3 FM and 1230 AM WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Tune in every Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m. for another insightful edition of Living Well, a special segment on Beaver County Radio designed to help you enjoy the best, most fulfilling, and healthiest life possible. Hosted by Dr. Joseph Maroon and Jeff Boast, and presented by St. Barnabas. Living Well, Saturday mornings at 8:30. Right here on Beaver County Radio, WBVP Beaver Falls, WMBA Ambridge, along with 99.3 FM and 95.7 FM. Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddy Crow.
It is Teleforum with Eddy Crow, but today it's MRS Physical Therapy. Dale Reckless is my guest. Before I get back doing the weirdness that I know you're going to have me do, let people know how they can get in touch with you. This is live fed on Facebook. Everybody in the room, I think, has it on the Facebook, including the station, including MRS Physical Therapy. How do they get in touch with you? And then me living forever, I'm more open to you messing with me.
Yeah, so we have 2 offices, MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater, right in the heart of Bridgewater and Stone Point Landing. That number is 724-728-7550. And Cranberry Physical Therapy in Cranberry on Route 19, right next to the North Park Lounge. And that number is 724-591-8121.
During the first half of this hour, it was determined that I'm going to live forever. I've got good hand strength for my age, and that is not an example. That gives you a guideline of how healthy you are and how far you're going to live. And I did okay with that. And you've got tape on the floor, which makes me believe I'm going to get to do more stuff.
Yep. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do some more what I call pre-sport testing. So this testing is specific to any kind of shoulder athlete. So whether you're a baseball player, lacrosse, swimmer, pickleball player, anyone that or disc golf, don't let me leave that out.
No.
Anyone that uses their shoulder for either sport or for hobby or whatever that might be. These tests are good for indication of risk And what we want to do is if we find a risk, we're going to mitigate that risk by working on strength or range of motion. But the first thing we need to do is test it because we need to have an objective measure to test to see if you are at risk or not. Okay. So let's do a couple tests here. You can stay sitting. I'm just going to come over to you.
All right. Let me move my mic so they can see what you're doing to me. All right. What are we testing?
Okay.
Size of my head.
The first thing we're going to test is cervical range of motion. So cervical range of motion, if you are missing range of motion in the cervical spine, it's going to increase the likelihood of injury. And I imagine your cervical spine, I think you're going to pass this test, but let's go and test you out. So you're just going to turn your head to the right as far as you can.
To the right?
Yep, just rotate your head. Yep, perfect. And then back, and then to the left. And back. So for those that are just listening, I have something called a goniometer. A goniometer measures range of motion or degrees of movement. So I'm measuring how far Eddy can turn his head to the right and to the left.
How did I do?
You did great.
All right.
So you passed.
Owl.
So your ability to turn your head left to right, you did it to 70 degrees to each side.
Okay.
Now, if I had someone that came in and they weren't able to move beyond 39 degrees, that is a marker of indication of risk.
Okay.
So if I have a thrower, for any reason that can't rotate their head left or right more than 39 degrees, then that increases their likelihood of risk of injury 9 times.
Wow.
So research shows that you're a 9 times increased likelihood of having an injury if you can't rotate your head more than 39 degrees to either side. Most of us have that, but as we age, that does get lost. So I see this being an issue for older individuals. They start to lose range of motion in their neck. And functionally, how this becomes a big factor to them is they start to lose the ability to turn their head to look behind them for cars, oncoming traffic. Mm-hmm. And that's a serious risk factor for them. That's not specific to this research that was done for throwers, but when people start to lose as we age that cervical range of motion, that's something you want to work on, especially if you're still driving, because you start to lose the safety of driving if you can't rotate your head left to right far enough.
All right, what else are we rotating?
And next, we're going to rotate your shoulder. So next, we're looking at shoulder range of motion here.
All right.
So we're going to measure your shoulder range of motion, and I'm going to write down some numbers here as we go. So let's go this way first. This is not your bad shoulder, right?
They're both bad.
Okay.
This is the less of the two, but they're both.
Okay,
yeah.
So we're doing internal rotation, and then we're doing external rotation here. Okay, relax there. And I'm just going to write a couple numbers down here.
I feel like I'm getting inducted into the Army. You're measuring and writing and doing a file, and I really want to tell people what these numbers are, but they mean
we're
nothing.
Going to measure your other side as well, because
all right.
What we're looking at is we're looking at a couple different factors. We're looking at difference between right and left is one factor.
All right, this is the jacked up one.
You all right there?
No. No, that hurt.
Okay, and I'm going to go back.
For those of you not watching, you know what happens when somebody pulls a chicken wing off the chicken's body. That's kind of what Dale had going on, that chicken wing removal technique. What do my numbers look like? All I need to do, cruise history. I'm not coming near your wing.
So when we're looking at range of motion, we're looking at total range of motion.
Yeah.
And so if you have more than a 5-degree difference between the right and left, so total range of motion is we add how much external rotation, which is bringing your hand back like you're throwing a football, versus internal rotation, which is your, like if you're just listening at home, your shoulders at a 90-degree angle and you're bringing your hand down like you're going to be putting it down towards the floor. That's called internal rotation. So we take that total number. If there's more than a 5-degree difference between the right and left, then you're a 2.5 time increased likelihood of injury, which you do have a difference between your right and left side. But you know you have a bad shoulder, and you should probably work on that.
So what was the number?
So you were about a 15-degree difference between right and left.
Oh, so, yeah. That's remedial level number for shoulders.
And the other thing that we look at is total shoulder internal rotation. Mm-hmm. So your shoulder internal rotation actually wasn't too bad. So normal shoulder rotation is about 70 degrees. If you have more than a 25-degree deficit in the shoulder internal rotation, then you're a 5-time increased likelihood of injury.
And that's both shoulders added to create the number for the deficit.
No, that's just pure shoulder
one?
internal rotation. So if I were to take your shoulder.
So that's me.
So your shoulder internal rotation is actually pretty good. It should be about 70 degrees, which you have there. Uh-huh. If you were only able to get to 50 degrees,
okay.
then you have an increased likelihood of injury. If you're only able to get to 60 degrees, you have an increased likelihood of injury. So you should get about 70 degrees to be within normal limits, which you have good shoulder internal rotation on both sides. And these again are indicators for mostly shoulder athletes, anyone that uses their shoulder for any athletic mobility. You need to have a proper ratio of internal rotation and external rotation. We're going to test strength next because this is a big indicator as well. But this is just the first parameter, looking at your overall range of motion between internal and external rotation to see if it's within normal limits or not. And if that ratio is off, then that research shows you're an increased likelihood of risk of injury depending on how far off you are.
I come to MRS Physical Therapy and I get those numbers, and what's the first thing you tell me we're going to work on?
We're going to give you some stretches to work on your internal and external rotation.
Okay.
So for you, your external rotation is what the limiting factor is. So we're going to work on your external rotation, probably your range of motion in addition to strength. We haven't tested your strength yet, but we're going to do that next. Let's have you go ahead and stand up for the next test.
For those of you that have seen these videos, this is usually where it starts to get weird.
So,
and I'm down.
I'm going to use the same gauge I used for grip strength testing, and all it is it's a force gauge. It just measures an amount of force, and we're going to do this in poundage. And what we're looking at is the difference between his internal rotation strength and his external rotation strength. And we can do this in a lot of different positions. We're just going to do this in what we call neutral position, which Eddie is standing up, his elbows by his side, his elbows at 90 degrees.
Yep.
And I'm going to ask him to pull his hand in towards his belly. Then I'm going to ask him to push his hand out towards me to the outside.
Can I make a fist?
Yeah. Okay. So we're also going. If I had a shoulder athlete, I would do this in different positions as well. So I would put it in what I call thrower's position, which means the shoulders in 90 degrees, so we get in more of a throwing position. But just for the sake of time and demonstration, we're just going to do this in the neutral position for Eddie.
Okay.
So you're not going to hold on to it.
I don't hold it. Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of holding the gauge here. Pull. And again, for a point of demonstration, I'm going to do this handheld to get the strength. Normally, I would have this fixed up against like the door frame or something like that, so it's more stable. But all you're going to do is you're going to pull your hand in towards your belly as hard as you can. Okay, and relax. Okay, I'm going to do that again. We'll get a couple measures here.
Ready?
Do it again, yep. Good. And let's do one more time.
Could you hear my shoulder popping and snapping?
Pull it in again. And relax. Okay, so we got a measure of his internal rotation there. I'm just going to write that down.
He wrote A+. He did not.
And I do use calculators because I'm not a math genius.
All right.
Because what we're looking at is your internal rotation to external rotation ratio should be 67%.
I appreciate your optimism with that, Dale.
So what that means is Eddie's internal rotation strength was 20 pounds of force. So what we want is his external rotation, which means pushing out. We want that to be at least 13.5 pounds of force. That's a 67% of your internal rotation.
2/3.
Okay.
All right, so now I'm pushing.
Now you're pushing out.
All right.
Okay, go ahead and push out, hold, and relax. And we're going to give you a couple trials on that. Go ahead again, and relax. And one more trial. Good, and relax. Okay, so that was good.
Better than the internal?
So, no, it wasn't better than the internal, but it was within that 67%.
Well,
so your internal rotation was 20 pounds and your external rotation is 18 pounds, and that's normal. Most people's internal rotation, their ability to pull their hand into their stomach, is stronger than their external rotation pushing out and away. And so your internal rotation was 20 pounds. We wanted more than 13.5 pounds, and you had 18. So your so you're within normal limits for your internal to external rotation ratio is what we call. Now the problem we see is when clients come in and they do this testing, and their external rotation is that 13.5 pounds or below, which means they're not meeting that 67% ratio, meaning their external rotators are a lot weaker than they should be compared to the internal rotators. And what that means is to any kind of a shoulder athlete, whether you play pickleball or baseball or whatever it is, we want to increase the strength of those external rotators to be within that 67% range to decrease the likelihood of injury. When you see that ratio being off, that increases your likelihood of injury, and that's what we want to get out of. We want to mitigate that risk by getting those external rotators stronger and focus on those external rotator muscles.
So a super simplified way of thinking of it, you want your forehand to be close to as strong as, or you want your backhand to be close to as strong as your forehand.
Exactly.
As far as the motion.
It's probably not, it's probably not going to be the same, but you want it within that ratio.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. I had no idea that I was as healthy as I was. Dale Reckless of MRS Physical Therapy has brought me a great and wondrous gift. I'm past. What did I not pass? There was something.
Well, we haven't done the hardest test yet.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to that.
So this next test is called a lateral leap and catch. So this is why I brought the tape in and put the tape marks on the floor. So this is a standing test. This, again, is not for the senior athlete at home because this is a higher level test. So for my dad that's watching and listening, I don't want him to try this test.
But it's okay for me.
But it's okay for you.
All right.
My dad's going to be 89 next week. Early happy birthday. He's very healthy and he works out as much as possible and he likes to challenge himself. But this is not what I want him to do at home.
But it's okay for
this
me.
is a time,
what am I doing?
This is a time test, so it's a 60-second test.
God.
And what you're going to do is you're going to stand on one side of the blue line there.
Yeah. Both feet over here.
Both feet over there.
Okay.
And sorry, I should have pulled up my metronome early here.
That's okay. It's going to seem like forever anyway. What I'm scared about is you're going to have me side hopping.
Yeah, you're going to be side hopping. Do you feel safe doing that?
We'll see, won't we?
So this test requires side hopping, and you're doing it at a metronome pace of 40 beats per minute.
Okay.
So what I have set up for Eddie here is he's got two lines, and I asked him his height earlier in the show, and the lines are 60% of his height, meaning they're 60% distance from one end to the other end, which, how tall did you say you were?
5'11".
5'11", I think we had about 42 inches between the two.
Okay.
And it's a single leg hop. So it's not, so you hop from the left tape mark to the right, you're going to land on the right leg.
So right leg, left leg.
Right. So go ahead and practice a couple times there first.
I can push off on both, though, right?
Yep, you can push off
So
to
I'm
start
just
with.
Going, yay.
Yep, but stay on the right foot. You have to stay on the right foot.
Oh, there's a balance.
And then,
thing,
yep,
too?
and then go back to the left. Right. Eddie's not so sure of this one if you can't see his facial mannerisms. Yeah, so you're going back and forth. But now listen to the metronome beat. Okay?
We're dancing.
So you're doing it to the beat, going left to right. Jump.
Now, see, now
And then jump
the
back.
beat,
Jump.
right? What'd you do at work today? I don't know.
Okay? And so what I'm
Am I
looking
losing
at,
points when I lose balance?
you lose balance, you lose points. So what I'm looking at is three faults. So Eddie is jumping back and forth from tape mark to tape mark, which is about 42 inches apart.
Yeah.
He's just going on a single leg, jumping from one side to the other. Okay? I'm timing him for 60 seconds and count the number of faults that we see. So a fault would mean he loses
Like
balance.
that?
It means a hip drop. It means he doesn't make it all the way from one side of the tape to the other side. So if you're watching, you can see how high level and difficult this would be. This could be for any kind of an athlete, basketball player, volleyball player, football player, either as a
Still?
pre-sport activity, or it might be someone that's returning to sport after an injury. So someone that has a knee injury or has dislocated their patella frequently or tore their ACL. This is kind of a return to sport activity. We want to make sure that they're able to do this high level activity before they're ready to return to sport, because return to sport is a high level of activity for this kind of motion.
Has that
So
not
that's a
been
minute.
15 minutes?
That's a minute.
That's hard.
Okay, so Eddie did not pass that test.
Yay! That's hard.
So again, that was a high level test, and again, this is not for our senior at home. This is for our younger athlete that's either returning to sport after an injury, or it might also be a pre-sport activity that we're looking at mitigating risks. So we might see someone that fails this, a young athlete that doesn't have the strength in their hips or their knees or their ankles, fail that kind of test. But that also points us towards, because we're trying to mitigate risk, it points us towards what we need to have that athlete work on in a program, whether that's with a sports performance specialist or an athletic trainer, whatever that might be. Do the pre-testing with us, and then we're going to talk to the athletic trainer about what this athlete needs to work on to be safe and to mitigate risks for their sporting activity.
Are they the same exercises as you get older with just fewer degrees you're looking for, or do the exercises change?
What do you mean? You mean as far as the distance that you would go?
Right.
No, this is a standardized test. So this is for anyone that wants to be able to work on a specific coordination, strength, and balance activity. But we do have different tests for the older individuals.
Thank you.
So the older individuals do have different tests. So I want to make sure that's clear that this is not a test I would do with an older individual.
Would
so
you do
if
this
you're,
seriously? Would you, if I came in 59, is that a test that you would consider for me, or is that
if you're like a tennis player or still pickleball player or still
Okay.
being active and we want to avoid mitigating risk?
You'd look.
Pickleball players, we're seeing injuries left and right. I mean, they're lining up at the door of pickleball players because pickleball players see this new sport, they're having fun with it, but they're not preparing themselves for the sport and the activity. So they're tearing their Achilles tendons, they're having knee issues, back issues. I'm seeing it every day. So the pickleball players is a huge area that we need to do this pre-sport testing with to make sure we're mitigating the risk for them. Now, if you're a senior and you're like, wow, Dale, that's crazy. You're not going to have me do that, are you? Well, no, I wouldn't have you do that. But there's a lot of other tests that can gear towards whatever goals you have. So say, for example, you realize your balance, you're 70, 80 years old, your balance is off a little bit. Then for those clients, I'm just going to do a single leg stance test, seeing if you can balance on one foot. So if you're practicing that at home, you should be able to balance on one foot for 10 seconds without having to hold on. And I always tell people when you're doing the test, make sure you have something firm to hold on to, like a countertop or something like that. But you should be able to balance on one foot for 10 seconds. You also should be able to get up out of a chair. So again, these are older individuals that might have the goal of working on their overall fitness for the new year. Being able to rise up out of a chair without using your arms, a lot of seniors can't do that. They can't get up out of a chair without using their arms. They've come to rely on their arms to stand up. So that means that's an indication that they've started to lose strength in their lower body. They've started to lose strength in their glutes and their quad muscles. And we want to have you be able to stand up and sit back down repetitively. This is one of the tests I do for my seniors. I time them for 30 seconds and count how many times they can stand up and sit back down again without using their arms.
I did
Some
that
people
test.
can't do it once.
Right.
We've done this test in the past. Some people can't do it once, but normative data shows you should be able to do it about 12 times in a 30-second time frame. That's a simple test you can try on your own at home, or you can come to see us at MRS Physical Therapy and Cranberry Physical Therapy to do that test. These are a couple simple examples of single tests that we do. We actually do a battery of tests, meaning we have, it's about 45 minutes to an hour of testing that we do for both our pre-sport athletes as well as our seniors to show indication of what areas we need to work on. Because we don't want to miss anything. We want to make sure we're looking at all of your range of motion, all of your strength, your balance, your coordination. So there's a series of tests that we do to make sure that it's a comprehensive exam, that we're not missing anything. We want to make sure we're mitigating your risks, and we want to make sure that you're able to meet your goals for the new year. And that's really what this is all about. You've made a goal for yourself, but I believe that a lot of reason for failure is because it was never measured, and you don't really see how you're doing. We're not able to get you the right dosage of what you need to do to meet your goals because we've never objectively measured it. But if you come in and we get it objectively measured, then we can remeasure it, retest it, make sure your dosage is appropriate for meeting your goals for the new year.
Got about a minute left. Dale Reckless of MRS Physical Therapy is my guest. What did we leave out that you wanted to get in? I appreciate you talking long enough for me to get my breath back too, by the way.
Yeah, so keep in mind, we can test anything. We can objectively measure anything it is. So no matter what your level of activity, maybe maybe you haven't done anything for years. It's never too late to start. There's never any age. There's never any top age where like, oh, it's too late for you. We can start this testing it and training for any age, no matter what your goals are, whether it's a simple balance goal, simple cardiovascular goal, losing weight, whatever it might be. We can measure that objectively to get you back on course for meeting your goals. And we do that in both offices, MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater, and that number is 724-728-7550, or Cranberry Physical Therapy in Cranberry, which is on Route 19 right next to North Park Lounge. That number is 724-591-8121, and you don't need a doctor's script to get started. You can just come see us, and we can do this evaluation for you.
Dale Reckless of MRS Physical Therapy. Next hour, Josh Kale joins me. It's Teleforum. Thank you for going easy on me.
Thanks for being a good guinea pig.
I, if nothing else, I'm that. It's Teleforum. It's Beaver County Radio.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right